Hi guys, season 2, episode 2 today. We've got Alex Cairns coming in, a local lad, really close friend of mine, so I'm looking forward to hearing his story.
Yeah, he's a good lad. I've met him a few times, Cairns. He's played for some great clubs, so looking forward to it.
He's also experienced quite a few ups and downs within his football journey, which will be great for you to hear, and he's also had some adversity in his personal life, which I'm sure he'll touch upon in the podcast, and we're looking forward to see how it all goes.
Ollie's told us we've got to turn on the bell, like and subscribe to this podcast. So what do you think to that?
Yeah, so everyone that's watching, make sure you like, subscribe and ring the bell, turn on the bell. Right guys, back for episode 2 of season 2. We've took a bit of stick during the week from a few people around us, being a little bit too tense, a little bit too tight. So we've had a couple of whiskies and we're going to calm ourselves right now, chill out a little bit. Cairns is on, so he's going to mull us down a little bit and get us going. Hopefully you'll loosen up a bit, mate.
Yeah, I just think I need to loosen up a little bit, put the WD-40 in the drop, going a little bit.
But as I just touched on there, Cairns has joined us today. Alex Cairns, a close friend of mine, Doncaster-born lad. He's got some great stories to tell, fantastic career. So we're going to get straight into it, Cairnsy.
Let's go.
All right. So, Leeds United, we'll go straight back to it. Leeds United, youth career, where it all started at your first professional club. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, Leeds, like, what an experience, what a learning. Going from sort of, I think I was 14 when I first signed for Leeds. I'd sort of only just come into the goalkeeping. Must have been a goalkeeper about a year.
So just on that then, so 14-year-old to start out as a goalkeeper is late anyway.
Yeah.
But even to start academy football, look at some of the boys these days, like 7-year-old, 6-year-old when they join. How was that?
Yeah, it was interesting because I still speak to the coach now that first said that. He said, I remember him saying, I'll not mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to, but he said to sort of the coach that brought me to the academy, was like, why have you brought him? He's not a goalkeeper. He can't do the basics. And I remember before I signed my academy papers to say that I'm going to be part of the academy, he pulled me into the office and said, I just want to apologise at first. And obviously I'm a 14-year-old kid. I'm thinking, what are you apologising for? Like, I'd not known all these conversations had happened, and he said, you've taught me something that I didn't think I'd ever know. That he said, you've changed so much in such a short space of time in terms of teaching and coaching. He said, you've just taken everything on board so quickly. He said, within 3 weeks you've gone from not a goalkeeper that was going to sign for this club to probably one of the best in the age group. He said, and I can't believe it. And that's when I sort of knew. I thought, I've got a chance here now. And that's immediately. And I told my dad that what had happened, and he said, like, wow. He said, like, and he couldn't believe it. He thought, wow, like, here we go. This could be a bit of a journey. This, and I came away from that feeling, on top of the world, because
I've got a chance now.
I didn't know that I was like
any good.
No, and I've loved football from the get go, and I've always played out for. Loved scoring goals, loved doing all of that, and I'd only just become a goalkeeper. So I was like, to now be at one of the best academies in the country was like, wow, like it was a big shock to the system, but also like, oh hello, you might have something in the game.
What were you before then?
Before that,
left wing.
Wherever I could get a game. No, because I played for Hyde Park Knights I played for my brother's age group, because my age group we didn't have one, and me and another lad, we went up to the old age group, and as it was going into like 11-a-side football, like we weren't developing as quickly as them. So sort of when I played, it was I might go left back, I might go centre, I might go centre mid, I might
gap
go
filling.
Yeah, I mean when I was younger, and it was like the 7-a-side pitches, I'd play everywhere, I'd run everywhere, I'd score goals for fun, loved it.
Oh, you must have been brave though.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I loved the tackle. Yeah. I was just all out of it all, and I just wanted to play football, and that's where I think we've all played the game. That's where we all started. Yeah. I think that's what we all want to do.
But for people that'll watch this and know of you, know what your strengths are, playing out from the back, being technically very gifted, do you think playing outfield helped that?
100%. I look now at what the coaching's like now from everyone, and I just look at the way the manager works at Salford, for instance. We're involved in everything, all the rondos, all the small stuff like that, and it's always keep against the ball with his feet. And that's the way the game is now, and I'm glad I had that sort of upbringing of I wanted to be an outfielder first before I wanted to be a goalie, because it stood me in good stead to now playing football. And
of course.
Managers now he doesn't just kick it long, he doesn't just save shots, he actually gets us playing. He sets up counter attacks, he sets us up, he breaks the press, what other teams are doing. So now it's sort of added an arsenal to me that I might not have had.
No, and other people haven't got.
No, exactly.
Some stages, you watch goalkeeper training years ago. You've been involved in it 14, 15 years playing as a goalkeeper. It were all about saving shots, catching balls, kicking it as far as you can, and now it's gone full circle in a stage of where it's all about keeping it short, getting involved with the attacks.
And there's nothing wrong with that way anyway.
No.
Because one thing, especially doing the stuff that I'm doing now, is like you need to have the fundamentals of goalkeeping. You need to be able to catch the ball, you need to be able to save the ball.
Yeah.
Like, that will never change. Goalkeeping will never change in terms of keeping the ball out the net. You still have to do that, but if you can add all these little strings to the bow, and
that's the
levels, then that's especially now looking back at it and looking where I'm at now. It's like I know all the things that add up.
We were speaking before, and you probably experienced a change throughout your career. How it's gone from really just concentrating on goalkeeping to really adapting it into playing a bit more.
I've had this conversation with like Lee Camp, Paddy Kenny, and people that still speak to in the game that that I've played with and become friends with, and we've said like sort of I was at the time of I've gone through my career as it's transitioned. So I've seen so I've seen now, like whilst I'm in it, I'm kind of like so I've been lucky enough to have a bit of both.
And you could probably play for both managers, because there's still managers that exist in the game that don't want to play out from the back, that want to go longer, they want to do the basics right. And there's managers that now trying to express the way the Pep Guardiola's kind of influence on English football. You can dip into both.
That's it, and I think that fundamentally that is key for goalkeepers, to be able to tap into both, because each game offers so many different options. Like I look at the game we played recently against Stockport. They stopped us playing out from the back. Okay, what can we do? We'll go a little bit more direct. Little things like that, where we'll go a little bit like these areas are exposed. If they're going on a high press, there'll be less numbers at the back. So it takes one flick on and we're in.
Yeah, we can go long.
It's crazy how you have to just keep. It's like cat and mouse. Like it's a chess game now, and that's how teams are starting to play it.
So, sorry, before you just go on there, Buzz. You've gone from Leeds United, you've signed at 14-year-old, you went all the way through to signing a professional contract. How was that? As a localish lad, Doncaster's not far from Leeds.
Yeah.
A lot of people from Doncaster support Leeds. I'm guessing you had friends that supported Leeds, probably family members that supported Leeds.
Yeah.
Were proud moment.
Yeah, it's like you say, I think we all know it's one of the best academies sort of in the country. Or
one of the biggest clubs.
One of the biggest clubs in the country. And I couldn't have asked for a better club to be a part of. I think the people that I grew up with, the coaches that I grew up with, have been massive for my career. There's too many to name, but obviously, especially my youth team. I worked with Neil Redfern.
And you were close with him, weren't you?
Yeah, very close. Good relationship with him, because one, he trusted me and I trusted him, and
he gave you a chance.
Yeah, he gave me a chance and gave me an opportunity, and he was massive for me. I still remember sort of when it was coming up to professional contract time, we had Crewe in the Youth Cup, and I'll never forget that moment in my career. And Jordan Snodden was there as well.
Right.
He was playing in that same game. James Baxendale,
he had a good team.
We had a good team, but Crewe had Nick Powell. I think it was Matt Clay.
That Crewe team was the one for the academy, wasn't it?
That Crewe team, they were really good, and it was a big game for us, and we won on penalties. And I remember Red has hugged me and said, if you don't get a professional contract now, there's something wrong. And then literally,
we'll sort it for me.
Yeah, well, I was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, it's time. And then he was right, because obviously your youth team coaches don't have the final say. It's obviously the director of football, the manager at the time, and as well, luckily for me, the manager at the time was Simon Grayson, and he had taken a shine to me. I'd trained quite a lot with the first team in that year. The goalkeeper coach was Andy Beasley, so they took a shine to me that year, which was good for me, and signed a professional contract that year, and from then on just kept bumping up, getting the experience from the first team lads, and luckily managed to get an appearance for the club, which I'm.
So at what age? So you signed your pro contract at 18, and what age are you leaving Leeds?
I left at 22, so I'd had, as a professional, sort of had 4 or 5 years.
Number 2, number 3.
Number 2, number 3, not involved at all. Number 2, number 3, not involved at all. You just sort of, unfortunately for me, at the time that I left, the club was going through a ridiculous transition period.
Yeah, of course it was.
We'd had Massimo Cellino was the owner, and you know, I didn't have the best of experience with him. You know, at one point I was getting told I was getting a new 3-year contract, and then another thing, I get a letter coming home from Tenerife. I'd just been away with Sam Byram, Alex Mower, Charlie Taylor, Jonathan Marks. We'd all been away together. I came home to a letter saying, "Thank you, but you've now been released from the club." I was like, and I rang Redders and just said, "What's this all about?" He went, "Alex, you know, I cannot believe it," because he'd showed me the list that he's like of people that they want to keep. There's a couple of us like me, Rudy Austin, Adi White. The club wanted, like he said, like sent this letter to Cellino to say these need to stay. Like they've been brilliant for us. And then I get a letter from, it wasn't even from Cellino. It was from I think it was the secretary at the time saying thank you, but you've been released from the club. I was like, okay, this is crazy. But funnily enough, I'd been on the that season. Chesterfield had just Tommy Lee, I think it was Tommy Lee, that had just been injured, and they had to bring an emergency loan, and they were trying to bring me in, or they were trying to bring me in at the back end of the season. And I was speaking to Lucy Warder-Redders that were trying to help me get the deal. I didn't train all that day because I thought I was travelling down to, I can't remember where they were playing. They were travelling down somewhere, and I weren't training because I was going to travel straight down there and meet the team, meet Chesterfield down there. And I just got told I can't sign for Chesterfield unless I sign a new 1-year deal at Leeds on a 25% wage cut. I was like, I'm a young pro, I'm not exactly earning tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that. Like, and if there's an opportunity where one of these teams, like a Chesterfield, like a Fleetwood, like somebody that's trying to come up the league that want a goalkeeper that's going to push their first team, I'm better off seeing the free transfer market.
Yeah. So
I didn't sign that deal, and then obviously in the end got that letter.
Yeah, it's crazy how that happens at such a big club like Leeds. Like to say, oh, we're going to sign you, but it's 25% decrease. Something happened.
But even going right back to the beginning of what you just said there, like we're trying to get out to as many youngsters and help and aid as many people that are going to get released, lose the football clubs, etc., etc. And these sit down with heads of recruitment, sit down with managers, sit down with youth team managers and get told they're not good enough for X, Y, Z reason. And that's difficult. We've had that before. You've been told by a manager you're not good enough. I've been told by a manager I'm not good enough. It's hard to open a letter and read that. Like,
it was crazy.
Like, mentality again for the aim of what resilience is trying to get to. Where were you at in that space? Let's just take that back to just that headspace of opening that letter, reading it. Obviously, heartbreak. Well, you live in a club you've been there for 8 years.
You know sort of what I've been through personally in my life as well. Mm-hmm. You know, I lost my little brother. We know that. You know, you were there for me throughout for that. And that was all in this spell of time. So like I was 21 when I lost my little brother. 22 had just been released. So within a year, I've lost one of my best pals in my little brother, and then been released from the club that I've loved. So like, I was never, the thing is it was mad, and like this is why I love what you sell, because it just gave me another kick to go, I'll prove you wrong. I'll get something out of this career, I'll do something right. If I don't prove it to me and my family and my little brother, like I'm going to get something out of my career here. And that's when it sort of was, okay, time to kick on now, time to get your head down, and time to even go again.
This is why you're a massive advocate of what we're doing. This is why we wanted you on this show, because we're trying to show people out there about mindset, about mentality, about dealing with upsets. And you've just said the exact perfect sentence there. This was a coping mechanism now for me to kick on, to show people where 90% of the population, probably what I did, probably what you've did, you go the other way and go, feel sorry for yourself. I blame people around me. I was upset. I probably didn't reach the levels I probably could have because I didn't deal with the initial no, whereas you've used it as, do you think the life experiences, obviously you've just touched on there with your brother, do you think that helped you go, there's more to life than football?
100%, yeah.
I'm going to kick on now.
100%. And that was it. And I'm not, everyone is different and everyone reacts to things. So like I remember I wanted to go back into training 3 weeks post what had happened. And let me tell you now, that football club was unbelievable with me through the whole thing. Through my mum and dad, like Redders, Lucy, the whole group, Moa, Lewis Walters, like the lads that were there at that moment in time. Because we were like, that group there that was there with me, Sam Byram, Charlie Taylor, I'll never forget. Like, I know we don't speak as much as we should do as now, but you know, we all do have our own lives, but they were brilliant for me because they just let me crack on and do what I wanted to do. Let me, Kenzie, do you need some time off yet? Alright, have some time off, come back when you're ready. You don't have to come back at all. Come back when you're ready, you know, deal with what you need to deal with. And,
of course.
And obviously, I mean, me and my brother, me and my older brother, I mean, we'd spoken before that, and we'd sort of put our heads together and gone, right, well, now we need to sort of step up and be sort of the leaders of this family, because my mum and dad have gone through what they've gone through, and that was another thing. So me and my brother now is the closest we've ever been through what's happened.
And helped aided
my football, without a doubt. They've sort of taken away any pressure from anything and gone, we're all here for you, like let's do this for you. And I'm lucky because I've got the family that I've got. I'm lucky that I've got the friends that I've got. But in the same breath, I've sort of gone, from that and from being released from Leeds, I've gone, I know what I've got to offer as a person, I know what I've got to offer as a player, because take away the player, the person, that you know what it's like having good people around your football club, around any environment, around your work environment. What you're building here, the people that you've got are people that you know you can trust and rely on. So take the person value into it, and I've gone, do you know what, I know what I can offer to whatever club, and I'm just going to lay that all out on the table now and have a good go at it.
And you probably realise as you get older, you don't have to be perfect for everybody else. As long as you're true to what you are as a keeper, as a footballer, as a person, you'll be a fit for somebody. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it, Joe. I mean, obviously when we go through sort of my career and the ups and downs and stuff like that, there's one thing that stayed constant, and there's the way that I've reacted to every situation. And that's never changed, it never will change, and I'd like to think my reaction creates a reaction to managers and coaches where they go, oh, actually, he's a good one in.
I've only met you a couple of times, and I've said what a guy he is already. I've only met you a few times already. What a guy.
Appreciate that.
But so you come away from Leeds United. You talked about dealing with all that. You kissed a few frogs. You went to Chesterfield 6-month contract, Rotherham 6-month contract, number 2, number 3, whatever that looks at. But then you go to Fleetwood, and ultimately find a home. Literally, you move over there, move your life over there. Play over 200 appearances for a great club. How was that? Because that was enjoying a little bit of a rise for Fleetwood, wasn't it? You've gone from kind of being new boys to a football league to an established playoff chasing good side.
And like, what a club, by the way. Like, trying to do things, trying to get to they're also trying to get to the level. They want to keep pushing boundaries, especially at that time. The club wanted to go on this. I think when I was there, they had Stephen Presley who signed me, but then appointed Uwe Rosler, and Uwe Rosler was the manager of Leeds United. We can do all these things in the game. So yeah, it was perfect for me, because my clubs had been around Doncaster, and at this point now I was allowed to move away, and I still had the option of Chesterfield as well. And I chose Fleetwood because one of the reasons was I could get away. Not that anything was suffocating me around it. I just thought, I'm going to go and experience life away from home.
Were they the same league at the time?
So, yes, same league, both in League One.
Do you think that sometimes can help people? Because, like, I'm doing it at the moment, and I've struggled with long days on motorways. That you kind of just up sticks and move. You had an apartment there that you were living in, or a house that you were living in, and you kind of get away from any distractions. It's just football, your closest, you've got a partner that'll have been there with you, but it's just your closest, and football for you to kind of really crack on to.
That's exactly what it was, especially them first 2 seasons. It was just a matter of, I've got my own little house that was around the corner from the training ground. So my recovery was, I'm home in 5 minutes, I'm back, I'm ready to go, like ready to train. I'd go up, have my breakfast, go to training, ready to work. Like, it was football. So I could stay, do my extras, do my extra gym work, be at home at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and I've done all that before everyone else. And people, it was the right thing to do, and it ended up being the right thing to do. And obviously, luckily for me, I got my debut. And another mad story connecting to sort of my brother was, so I came on against Chesterfield. I came on because Chris Neal had got concussion. Came on after about 7 or 8 minutes. We won the game 1-0. Then Uwe Rosler pulled me and was like, I can't drop Chris Neal, he's done nothing wrong. And I said, no, I agree. He said, you've shown me, you're more than capable to step up at this level. I was like, well, thank you, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Another 2 weeks passed, just kept training, doing what I needed to do. Played a game against Carlisle in I don't know if it was the Papa John's then or whatever. And then we'd played Southport in the cup, in the FA Cup, and it went to a replay on a Tuesday night, and the Tuesday night was the anniversary of my little brother's death. So, and at Southport at the time was Cal.
Yes, I remember. Cal was on TV as well, the game.
So Cal was at Southport at the time, and we've sort of spoken. He's seen that I'm in the starting lineup, and he was the captain of Southport at the time, and so I've played against him, he's played against me. Obviously it's an emotional day for both because he's been there through it all as well.
Yeah, of course.
Emotional day for both of us. I remember him, like, he came with me back home that night. We went to my little brother's bench that we built at Grove Park, and we just had a little cry, a little hug, and he was like, that was just meant to be. And then from then I didn't lose my place out of the team for about two seasons. I think I had 2 full seasons from that.
So when you signed for Fleetwood, it was as a number 2?
It was. See, yes and no, because me and Chris Neal signed at the same time.
Right.
And to be fair, Stephen Presley put the gauntlet down. He was like, lads, he was like, I've not got number 1. He was like, Chris, you're more experienced, but he's like, I've not got number 1, go and have it out. And I'd had a good summer. Like Dave Lucas was like, it's neck and neck. Dave Lucas was the goalie coach at the time. He was like, it's been neck and neck. But then Stephen Presley got sacked a week before the season started, and Uwe Rosler came in. And fair play to Uwe Rosler, he was like, pulled us both, and he's like, I've not seen enough of you, Alex, and I know Chris has played loads of games, especially at this level. So I was fine with that, because I knew there was I'd signed a 2-year contract then. I was like,
going to get a chance at
there's time, there's games.
I think it's just different being a goalkeeper, knowing that, like, if you've sent it forward and I'm not in the team for the first few games, I'm thinking I could get in a couple of games. Whereas you're probably thinking, I might have to sit this out for 6 months before I can get.
I'm gonna be totally honest, and this is probably why I am who I am. I can't stand not playing. Like, I'm watching these games thinking, my God, like I don't want to be involved in this. If I'm not playing, my head's not on football. I'm just like, I come to play the game. I'm sat on a bench, can't get my head around it. But goalkeepers' careers and lifespan are completely different. There's so much longer careers than an outfield player, so much more longevity to it, and your mindset's completely different, because you might not be 25 until you really make a name for yourself in the game. So you're probably programmed into being a 2, a 3.
Well, that's it. I think, like, obviously, and that's, you bang on there, because as a keeper you think, I might not even get in for 3 seasons, let alone. So like, goalkeepers are always changing. Like,
and it's took out your hands. If you're number 2 to Edison at minute at Man City, like, it's unlucky, isn't it? Like, he's going to play more games than he does because
I mean, it's unlucky, but the process for life. I wouldn't mind being a pound behind a few of them.
I'll be number 2 to him.
Yeah, I'll be number 4.
But even still, like, flip that mindset, as you say, like, flip that mindset of, you're working with the best in the world. I mean, I spoke to Lonners about Andy Lonergan when he went into Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I was like, what was it like? He was like, just training with them boys is like an experience in itself.
Yeah,
and that's where I'd like to see that one day and go, that is the standard. We've always.
But you can do. You see these keepers nowadays, that, especially young English ones, because of what they have with putting them in the squads and stuff, and having so many English or United Kingdom-based players. You see people going and playing at Premier League clubs at 35, 36, to be number 3s, to be reserve keepers. But like, the experiences must be insane.
This is it. People think it's a payday, and it's not. It is in a sense, but it's not, because it's like, hang on a minute, I'm going to experience a top flight English club, like, that's trying to break Champions League football. I'm going to be involved in all these nights, all these days, all these training sessions, all these build-ups, all these meetings from these top managers. It's kind of like, no, it's a great,
like,
it's a great
Jack
ball.
Butland now at Man U. Like, he's what is he, number 2, number 3?
Yeah, number 2, number 3. Yeah.
And he's having, every day he's getting shots from the best players in the world. Gone from being a Championship footballer his last club.
When you played in the summer, when we did it in the summer as well, when we played in the summer, we've had like, when a keeper goes in, just want to save shots.
Yeah.
Like, just want to save shots. They've all got that mentality, otherwise they won't be a goalkeeper.
No, of course.
And that's what it is, and that's the experience that, like, some people think, they're getting paid not to play football. No, they are. They're adding to the group. They're adding value to the group, because they can get the finishing sessions from a top goalkeeper.
Yeah. They
can get all this work in. So you're just constantly increasing the levels.
And tipping your CV up as well along the way.
Of course.
But, so going back a little bit then, so you've had, you had a fantastic time at Fleetwood. You got Player of the Year, you got Community Player of the Year, over 200 appearances. You found a real good home there.
Yeah.
I honestly thought, and I was saying to you before, we've done this podcast there, I thought you was club for life. I thought you was going to be there forever, and the romantic story of staying there, and you kind of living from Doncaster and Fleetwood, that's kind of how I knew you. But ultimately, sometimes in football, things come to an end. This season's been difficult for you.
Yeah.
How have you found from being, because I get that not playing is hard anyway, but from being one of the main men, let's not beat around the bush, you're one of the main men, one of the best players at Fleetwood, to not making squads, to not playing in games, to sometimes not even travelling to games. How have you found that mentally?
Yeah, so
at a good age where you want to be playing football, you're not a kid anymore.
This is it, like, and this is the thing, I wasn't a kid anymore, and I'd had all the experience that I had, but I was still doing it away from home. I wasn't. Half my week was I was living in Preston at the time. I had an apartment in Preston. Half my week was there, half my week was in Doncaster. So, and we've got 2 kids. Like, the second one was due at this time and I felt like I just felt at the end of the last season, and sort of that's like the last period of that last season, I just didn't feel the same person, the same player than what I was when I first signed there, and the first 6 years there. Something had just changed, and I don't know whether it was the second baby, I don't know what it was. My love had just gone at that point, at that place. So I sort of sat down with the club and said, like, listen, if there was an opportunity to move closer to home, where I can be at home every night with my family, I'm going to have a look at that option. And the club obviously took that into their own hands, like thank you for your honesty, we appreciate that. So I'd just come off the back of, we just got saved from relegation the season before, and even that in itself mentally was a grind of a season. Like at one point we were playing with lads that had not played, a majority of the team had played less appearances than any team I'd ever been a part of, and I thought, well, I've still got ambitions to go to where I want to go to and what I want to do, and I want to be part of successful teams that are doing successful things. And I know the club needed me at that time to help keep the club in that division, which we did, which I'm proud. That season, I still speak to lads now that were in that team, and I don't think anyone other than the group that was in there will understand how big of an achievement that was. We were under transfer embargo, we couldn't sign any players unless they were free, and we couldn't do anything.
Yeah. So were you one of the older players?
And I was one of the older players. There was a few of us, It's like me, Tom Clark, and Harrison Biggins, who's now at Doncaster, and Danny Andrew, some really good lads, and and Joe Garnett. Like, nobody understands how big that was, us staying up, and because we were struggling, we had no players. Lads were getting injured. Our injury list was ridiculous. Probably the worst I've seen it in football, and this is all post-COVID. So, and obviously we were under transfer embargo, like I said. So, like, to come away, I felt relief. Like, at the end of that season, I thought, I've done the job, but now it's time. Like, I'd been in 2 playoff campaigns with the club. I'd now been in a relegation battle, and I was like, I feel like it's just time to move on. And I told the club this, and they understood. They got it. 2 kids was probably the main reason. Like, I was like, I don't want to, sort of my missus to have that sort of burden. I need her to have me as well there as much as I can. I want to be there. I want to see my kids grow up at the end of the day. We're all lucky in football where we're done near enough at 3 o'clock every day, and I'm still having a 2-hour drive home sometimes.
I think that's something that people don't really take into consideration. Like, they say, "I'll just go for it," and you're thinking, I'm in the car all the time. Yeah. Like, I know we're not trying to make people feel sorry for us.
Of course.
But there is a lot of driving, a lot of travelling. Sometimes you think, I need to be a bit close to home.
And this is it. And I and my missus, we're all up for, up sticks and moving, and moving around with my football until I say, right, I'm done with football now. Like, we need to find. Right, they've always been supportive for that, but I've been there for that long, and I was still sort of here and there in between. I thought, it's time for me to move on. Like,
in this not so distant past, not playing and being at a good age and actually not kicking a football on a Saturday, how did you find that? I know you've got the distraction of the second baby and having a son and all those things, and you've got great friends and family around you, but ultimately you're programmed to be a footballer, and at 3 o'clock on a Saturday you want to be walking into that tunnel ready to go. How do you find that doing that?
Difficult. I know me and you had spoken about it anyway, but it was coming so sort of, they didn't want me around the place. I'd now, since sort of the deadline day, I'd got put with sort of the under 23s and stuff like that. I'd sort of been completely ousted. So that in itself was a difficult challenge. I've had to I've been training with the first team group up until deadline day, and then they've gone, right, now you're the 23s. Oh, and thanks. I was like, service, I'm going to have to give to this club. But in the same breath, it got me to sort of where I am right now, like, in terms of, like, I was like, no problem, I'm going to get my head down again, and I'm just going to crack on. So basically, I just cracked on.
Remain consistent.
Remain true to what I was saying earlier. Remain true to myself. Just did everything that I know I need to do for me to move on, and me to be the best version of myself, me to have the best career I can have. And I just kept doing that until I obviously got an emergency loan to Hartlepool, which then put me back in the shop window where everyone's going, he's available, he's fit. Played a game, and then luckily for me, Salford came in. So I just stayed true. Like, in terms of going back to your mindset, mindset was just probably the most driven I've been in a long time. In terms of, I'm just
I'm ready to go now.
I'm going to go. I'm going to do the extra session. I'm going to make sure I'm the first one in, last one out. I'm going to do my extra sessions. I'll come in on them Saturday mornings when I need to come in. I'll be there. I'll just be there, because at the end of the day, if the club ever needed me, I would never refuse to play for the club.
No, because you love it. Because I played 200 goals for it. You've seen the rise of it, the ups and downs.
If ever called upon, I was always I'll do it.
You can go one way or the other there, can't you? You can either really just start tossing it off, so to speak, or you can go the other way where if I'm ready, or even when you get a loan move, I'm ready to go straight away. It's not going to take me 4, 5, 6 games to be ready.
Well, that was it, and that's when the sort of the coaching staff, I think Owen von Williams there at the time, his training was brilliant, because it's probably the fittest I've been in a long time as well, because he was just like, we'll do this, and I was getting work with him, and obviously the youth team coach, because I wasn't always with the first team training. On the first team, I just like weren't training with the first team goalkeepers at all times, sometimes with the 23s, and then it was only sort of the back end of it, sort of the last 2 months before I left again, I was back with them, I was back training with them, and then we just cracked on from there, and I've gone, but then I'm like, I'm fit, I'm ready, so whatever club comes in.
But ultimately then, the positive mindset, the remaining consistent, again, we're reaching out to viewers here that are going to be watching this, and people that might be struggling in a similar position. People might watch this podcast and go, yeah, at my club, whatever step that might be Premier League, might be, non-league, can take things from that, and ultimately you doing all that has led you to where you are today, which is, for me, one of the biggest football clubs in the country at the minute, because of the business around them. Salford being owned by the class of 92, not 96, which Ollie's already said in today's little interviews with you. We've had a class of 96, but that's for the viewers. Ollie Bigelow, class of 96, he said, is actually 92. So class of 92.
He was born in 98.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Fair, we'll give him that one.
So the class of 92, we were saying off air, owned by some of our absolute heroes. Definitely. People that I couldn't even be in the same room with without climbing up, I don't think. To be owned by them, the buzz around the club, you've got this amazing opportunity to go in. They're in a playoff push. They're in a playoff push, potential playoff campaign. You're the number one. Things have been brilliant since you've gone there. How have you found it?
Again, going back to sort of the 6 months prior to leading up to this, has led up to this. Mm-hmm. It's been sort of the mindset driven, knowing what I want to go into.
Did you ever think that this would happen though?
Absolutely not, but then it's right place, right time.
And you're getting your rewards for staying true to yourself for that period.
This is exactly that, and that's any advice, and that's when we touch on later about like the Kick On Academy stuff. I'm happy to speak to anyone about how I did it. Might be different for somebody else.
Yeah, of course.
But as footballers, I feel like we all go through adversity. It's the game that we're in. We'll go through all sorts of adversity.
You get more no's, more negatives than you do positives, and that's what we're trying to normalise.
Of course you do, and it is normal, and it has to be sort of, you don't want to accept it, especially at the time, and you can, I've gone home to Miss, and she knows I'm down, and she knows I'm not all there, and the beautiful thing about having kids is, and I know some people aren't lucky enough to have kids, but beautiful thing about having kids is, straight away, a bad day is a good day.
Yeah.
You go home to them, family's healthy, I'm okay, Miss okay, Mum, Dad are okay, everyone's okay, and again, prior to them going back, things at one point weren't okay. Perspective, it's a wonderful thing. So everything that I'd done has built up to this Salford move, and lucky for me, they identified me and wanted me to be their goalkeeper, for the playoff push that they wanted. Obviously a league that I'd not played in before, League Two, but I know a lot of teams that have been in League One now dropped to League Two, and League Two trying to push for League One, so I knew what I could bring to the team, I know what I can bring to the team, I know what I'm bringing to the group, so... But
from the outside looking in, Kenzie, from the outside looking in with Salford, it already feels like a feel-good factor for you. It feels like it got a bit of a buzz, there's a few tweets about you on social media, there's a real positive vibe around you, and are you feeling that? Are you enjoying your football again? Is the love back? Oh,
absolutely. Like you go in, the club's it wants to do something. You straight away get that feeling. I was speaking to you both earlier about Ryan Giggs is there and Nicky Butt's there every day. They're very hands-on. They want to make sure the club's going in the right direction, and that's something that I want to be a part of, especially for this short period. I want to be the one to say I helped that club go on to the level that it's going on to. Do you know what I mean? I want to help be part of the ladder, and it's got that buzz, it's got that feel. It's trying to do something. It's trying to do something that not many teams have done. I know teams have got to a certain point, but these want to go all the way. They've been out and open about that, and they're building something in there that you can see they're trying to get, make sure the people are right. Everyone's connected, to the media, to whatever you're all. It's not just the players. Obviously, we're the ones fundamentally that get there, but they're trying to build a core group that's going to get the club to where it needs to get to or where it wants to get to. There's absolutely a love back for it. Got the feel good.
Do you fancy a chance if you get in the playoffs? I know there's a lot of football left to play. There's a few teams around 5th, 6th and 7th in that division.
There's a few of us that are sort of going for it. There's some big clubs that are in and around the mix. But the beautiful thing about playoffs is when you're in there, it's a lottery really. You're all good teams. That's why you're in that.
It's a good squad, Salford's, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great squad. It's a great squad. And when you look at sort of the top 10 in League 2 this year, you could put any one of them in that playoff group, in the promotion group. You go, hey, do you know what? Fair play, you deserve it. So we've still got 2 games to go. We've still got work to do to get in there. Fingers crossed we can do it. I hope so, because the group deserves it, just from the training day in day out. They put the work in.
And I'm probably talking a bit too giddy here, but see what happens this season. You're out of contract in the summer.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, location, what you want to do? Is there anything from your point of view of football what you want next?
Don't get me wrong, I have thought about it, but it's probably the first time in a long time, 6.5 years, 7 years, that I've been actually be able to go reset what's happening, like what's available to me, and that's the first time in a long time I can actually say, because I've just signed contract after contract.
Have you always signed contracts in the season?
In the season, yeah. I've never
been out of contract in the summer?
Not since I left Rotherham. Well, I'd already agreed a deal. Not since really I left Leeds. Really. Yeah.
So from us talking, because I know you're out of contract this summer. I did it last summer with an injury. I remember being on holiday with my missus and my kid, and I couldn't enjoy it. I'm walking around a pier thinking, when's my next paycheck? Who am I going to sign for? Will someone want me? Do you have any of those worries, any of those burdens, or do you feel like you're in a good position, you're in a good, healthy mindset?
Again, I trust the person, the process, what I've done in the game. I trust that to sort of overcome. And if something doesn't come, then that's that. Mm-hmm. That's something that I can't control. I can't control what offers come my way. Mm-hmm. All I can control is what I'm doing right now, and which is working hard every day, putting the graft into the training ground, putting the performance in on the pitch, and then I'd like to think everything else takes care of itself.
Brilliant. So then, if we move on to just on that statement there, what's next for you in football? That probably leads on to what's next in life. Like you said there, if the offers don't come, which might happen, we don't know, hopefully not, but if it doesn't, you're setting up a business now. You've got a coaching business called Kick On Academy, Kona, with Calamar.
He's got 10 years left at playing.
Listen, he's got another 15 years left playing with
that. The hairline hasn't, but...
So, you're going to be playing football for the next 10 years, but because of the type of person you are, because you know it could all be over in a second, like everyone does with life and football and stuff like that, you're thinking about the next stages. You're doing a degree?
Yeah. I've put that on hold whilst I set up what I'm doing next, sort of type of thing. Something coaching. At first, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go into it. This was five years ago, and then as I've sort of been in the system, gone through coaches, I've gone, I think I've got something to offer. And I'd spoken to somebody at Fleetwood, Stu Murdoch, who's been brilliant for me. He sort of said, would you look at coaching? I said I didn't at first. I weren't interested in it, but now I feel like I've got too much to offer. I feel like I've got too much life experience in what I do, and I think, well, this is my expertise as life coach in football or whatever it may be. And we were speaking about not pinning ourselves down to a certain thing. I don't have to be a goalkeeper coach. It might just be, we need you to help lads on transition, whatever it may be. I'm quite open to what might happen afterwards. The Kona stuff has been brilliant, because I've managed to put sort of something that I care about. It's it's my own, like mine and Cal's little project together, where we can give something back to people, to parents as much as it is the kids, to say, well, these have been through it all. They've had the hardships, they've had the highs, the lows, and we're not just there to offer the coaching. We're there, we've set up a little Facebook group with the members and stuff like that, to say, like, this is what it's going to look like next week, this is what they worked on this week, any questions, whatever it may be. We're trying to build relationships with lots of kids, lots of parents, to say, you can trust us, we'll give you our advice, and then you do whatever you need to do with your kids.
And I suppose a sense of like success with your local community, your local areas, giving something back. You said you started off in grassroots, you've gone full circle, you're trying to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not necessarily setting up teams, we're just offering extra coaching, help, advice. That's all of that and all of that. So I don't think we really had that when we were growing up. And
it were either you were good enough for an academy, or
you played Sunday league football, Saturday league, whatever it may be. So we've sort of seen an opportunity where we can actually give something back as well as help us progress as coaches. Because now I've learned so much, and now I just know what session's coming next. I know what works, and I've had people around help me with what type of coaching to put on, what do you want to get out of the session, when we're working on distribution, working on catching the ball properly, all these things, and there's all different levels as well, so I'm understanding how I can separate the two, and it's brilliant.
And just developing as a self, developing your CV, knowing what's next, knowing what might be around corner, but ultimately what I'm getting from it is, like we all want to do, stay in football.
Yeah, of course.
And be around football, like you said.
It's all we know, isn't it? I mean, you played at a better level than us, but it's all we've known, training every day and playing football. So.
Well, that's it, the environment that football creates. It creates friends for life, it creates so many things for us, and it does, and it's... And I just go the sort of the discipline of the way I live my life now, eating right, doing the right things, all through what I do as my job, and I'm privileged that it is my job. I do know it will come to an end at some point, but how much do I let it come to an end? Do I carry on through coaching? Do I carry on through doing kick on academy, however big that gets? So that's sort of my passion away from football, but within football, if that makes sense.
No, brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming in, buddy.
Welcome, thanks for having me.
Great to see you.
Loved it, pal. Cheers,
thank you.
If you can do us a favour before you leave and just sign his shirt behind, we'll try and collect some signatures. But brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.